Hey everyone, here we go back again to PlannerApp version 2. Right now we are at the session number 31 and our goal is to implement the logic that's related for the plan items. So if we go to the Swagger documentation of this API, you can notice that here we have the version 1 and version 2. Make sure that you are on the version 2, which is the stable and the workable version, let's say. Here we have the to-do section. I think we have implemented all of those. Right now it is time for this one. So how we retrieve plans, it's actually the items. The items are being retrieved with the plan. When you retrieve a plan by ID, we get the items. But if you want to see these to-dos over here that's existing for us, what we can, what the function that's available for us, as you can see here, we have get total pendings. I think we are going to use this for the dashboard. We keep this for the last, and we have post. So this one is to add a new item. Let's open that and see what is required for us. So it takes ID, description, estimation, achieve date. We don't need all of this. All what we need is just description and plan ID. This is actually what we need to send a request for the to-dos post, and it will create a new to-do item for us. This is the first function. The other one is which is put, and actually this one is to update. And as we have said, we are going to use only the description property. So this means we need to send the ID and the description. You'll also send the plan ID, and then it will update that. It will replace the description for us. And we have delete. So all we do is just to-dos and send the ID of the to-do item, and it will be deleted. And this one is toggle. Toggle means like it will set it to check or unchecked. So it is an ID. It takes an ID string, which is the item ID, and that's it. So what we are going to implement in this session is the to-do items client. So let's go to Visual Studio and open up the client.services. And here we go. You can find we already have iPlan service, and we are going to create right now a new one, which is the to-do item service. So I'm gonna copy this, paste over here, and let's call this one to-do items service. Right? This is something very simple. We don't have get. Let's get rid of this because, as we have said, we don't need get by ID as well. We need to create async. Yeah, we need this create async. But what do you expect from it? If we open up this one, we expect to-do item detail, which we already have this one. So instead of plan detail, we are going to receive to-do item detail. Let's open up this class and make a quick review for it. So what it has is ID, description, is done, and the plan ID. And as we have said, you already have estimation date and achieved date. You can use those, they are supported in the API, but client side, they are not important. Like you can just find a place for them to put them in the UI and you add more properties. And yeah, so the create async, it's not going to take all of this stuff. It will take only two properties. Let's add them, description and plan ID, right? This is what's going to take, and we are going to construct the object. Now the other one is going to be edit, which is also right, and it will retrieve also to-do item detail. You can check it over here. It will retrieve the exact same object, and also over here you can pass the string the ID and the string new description. So in this case, it will edit. Now delete is going to be exactly the same one, and we have toggle as well. So let's copy this, and let's say toggle async, and we just pass ID. If it's not done, it will be marked as done, and if it's done, it will be marked as undone. So this is the to-do item service. As you can see, it's pretty simple. Let's move it to a new file, and we will move to-do items to a new file. It's not that complicated. Here we go. It is ready right now. We have it over here. Now let's go to HTTP plan service. Now this is the implementation of that. I'm gonna copy this as well, just to do the same thing, so I can save sometimes writing some code, and I will just call it to-do items service. Let's rename the constructor and move it to a new file, so we have the freedom, we have more space. Let's go back over here and go back to to-do items service, and we have we should change this to to-do item service. So this retrieves ToDo item detail, and it takes string description, string ID, plan ID. Yeah, things like that. Now this requires some changes because this is a form that submits a file. This is not our case. Actually, we are going to push as JSON, and it is ToDo items. This is what, or it's just ToDos. So this is the name of the controller. Now the data is going to be JSON. So I'm going to use post as JSON async. What you're going to post, we are going to post directly an anonymous object that has the plan ID equals the plan ID and description equals description. Just like that. So this is the data that we want, and regarding the data that we will retrieve, it will check if it's succeeded, it will retrieve for me this object, and if it's failed, it will throw an exception called API error response, which is, we have created this one, and it will pass the data that comes from the API so we can catch it in the UI and show that message for the user. Now, what about update? It's going just the exact same story for this one. So let me copy that one and replace it over here and call it edit async. But this one, instead of taking description and plan ID, it will take an ID because we don't need the plan any longer. Or yeah, let's add the plan as just a set of validation and send it to the UI, just to the API, just in case the API is also checking for the plan, like just as another validation process. This one is not post, it is put as JSON async, and we will pass also the ID equals ID. So the exact same thing over here, and get the plans async. This is not needed. We don't have get by ID. Let's remove it. Delete async. Yeah, we have it. All we have to do is just ToDos. We don't have to change anything. Just change the endpoint, and it's going to work. Prepare form. We don't have this. And the last one that we still have is the toggle, which is actually going to set it as done and undone, and it is just simply like a put request. So we will take this one over here and put it over here, but we don't have an object to send, so we'll remove this and set it as null. But this one requires, it's a generic method, so it tells like, hey, what you're pushing, and I'm saying like, I'm gonna put an object of type object, but I will pass it as null because it's not needed. And here, let's toggle and the ID. This is how it's going to work. Let's see what kind of response do we accept. Yeah, we will accept just over here. Oh, okay, if it passed, it will return for me nothing, which is, yeah, it makes sense, like we don't need anything. So let's remove this. Yeah, just things like this. We are not interested in any kind of response. Oh, sorry. Let's make it like that. And if it failed, yeah, it's just like this, just like the delete. Because it's either toggled or no. If it succeeded, then we are not going to show the user anything. We will just take the action and set it as toggled in the UI. So that's it. And now let's update also the interface to make it also support retrieving nothing over here. Yeah, here we go. This is it. Now, okay, here as well, it is doing good. It's doing good. So this is everything, like a very simple little function that's talking to the UI. And again, one more time, I will explain why we are doing it like this and we are not injecting the HTTP client directly in the UI. This will make our components depends on this interfaces and not on HTTP client by itself or not by a specific client itself. If you want to unit test this component, it's going to be much easier for us. If you want to mock some components, it's also be very easy for us because we don't need an API or we don't need an HTTP client specifically to communicate with, because our component, as you have seen in the videos, they are dealing with this interface with an abstracted layer, which is good, and this keeps the separation. So if you have any questions about this, I highly recommend you to, you can put them in the comments section. And if you want to understand how this happens exactly, and if you're just starting from this video, I highly recommend you to go to the videos number from 8 to 15, where we implement this implementations from scratch for the plans. And this is it. Right now, the last thing that I'm going to do is just to inject this actually in the dependency injection container. So I will add scope ToDo item service, and it is HTTP ToDo item service. And in that case, right now it's injected because this function is being called by the program.cs. As you can see, add HTTP client services. So right now we are ready to use. So thank you so much for watching. This was like pretty easy, I think. So, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And in the next video, we're going to implement the create functionality. So we add a text box, we click create, and then a new item will be added for the plan. Again, thank you so much and see you.